Welcome to the Obvious Podcast, episode number 36. My name is Sonny. I'm the COO of ABC Florida East Coast.
And my name is Peter Dyga. I'm the president and CEO of Associated Builders and Contractors, Florida East Coast chapter.
The Obvious Podcast is a production of ABC Florida East Coast. Unless otherwise stated, all content reflects the opinions of the guests and the hosts, which is us.
And if you like the Obvious Podcast, you can subscribe on all major podcast platforms or watch the audiovisual version on YouTube. You can also follow the Obvious Podcast on Instagram, X, and Truth Social. You can always reach out to us via email at theobvious@abceastflorida.com. Links to all the social media feeds are in the episode show notes. And if you want to help others find the podcast, please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice.
So I wanted to talk to you today about a combination of platitudes, which I usually despise, but these two I really like. One thing I know you like to say a lot, Peter, is success has many fathers, but failure is an orphan.
This is a favorite, yeah.
Right? Which
some famous Supreme Court justice, I think, said that, but I love it.
Yeah.
Forget who, but
I'm going to have to look it up on
it's
Google.
a great quote.
Success has many fathers, and failure is an orphan. And then the other thing you say all the time, or we say all the time, that's part of our culture at ABC, is that leadership matters. Right?
Yep, absolutely.
So when you, as you know, we're in the midst of a season at ABC where success is happening in almost every avenue that we're pursuing. A lot of long-term answers, solutions, problems are being worked out. And you and I are the recipient of a lot of good news recently. And that led to me having a conversation with somebody who is new to the ABC family as a member and kind of sharing some of the things that were happening. And she said to me, wow, you guys have really come out of nowhere, right? And, you know, we're a 70-year-old organization and you've been here 26 years. And the Institute is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. So I just kind of made a comment to her. I said, yeah, we're a 50-year overnight success.
Love it, yeah.
You know? And I've been so taken back by the fact that, like, of course, because I'm in it, I'm in the weeds. You and I are both in it. We know that success is such a result of planning and execution and progression and failures, right? Like,
that's right.
We have a saying at ABC: we want everybody to fail fast.
Yep.
You know, take risks but fail fast.
And adjustments and
exactly
in any event. And sometimes it's, you know, when you're lucky, 2 steps forward, maybe 1 step back, but as long as you keep, you know, moving those 2 steps forward. So, but some people might notice, Sonny, that our background looks a little different.
It does, yes.
So we are, for the first time ever, we've titled this episode of The Obvious Happenings, because we want to talk a little bit about, we were having a conversation, I think, on the drive here about, I mean, what an amazing, incredible week. And then we were like, month. Like, no.
Few months.
Yeah, a few months. And just the things that are happening at the Florida East Coast chapter and the ABC Institute and the foundation are just amazing. So just for starters, we're here for the first time on our podcast, which, by the way, you know, we continue to get amazing feedback on it. It continues to grow.
Thank you to you for that.
So, absolutely.
Our audience has been amazing.
Yep. Thank you for help spreading the word. I just recently, had somebody tell me they like the podcast Peter better than the, association office Peter. So it's definitely a different take, right? So, but I think we've got something good going here, and we appreciate you all's response to the programming. So, but yeah, for the first time, we're on the road taping this podcast, which is pretty cool. And we're on the road in part because probably the biggest culmination of these, what a week, what a month, what a quarter we're having, was MOU that we signed with Space Florida recently with ABC, basically to, we hope will lead to a partnership that will allow us to open up a second headquarters, if you will, and or training center, hopefully on Space Florida property, and develop that space very quickly, sometime into the future. So it really was groundbreaking. We had, 50 or 60 people at the signing. We had contractors like Boeing and
Boeing was there, Lockheed was there.
and then a lot of our members that are some of the biggest GCs in the business. So,
Yeah.
And they're all there because they wanted to see exactly this historic, if you will, signing. So,
Yeah.
And by the way, you were really the one that from the vision to making this happen. So you deserve
thank
a lot of credit.
Thank you. I
'Cause,
appreciate that.
Quite frankly, I'll probably be gone. At some point.
Well, let's not get carried away.
Anyway. God's willing, it'll happen that quick that maybe I'll see it.
You'll get to see it for sure. And it's a marriage of two of the Florida's greatest industries, right? Construction and
Absolutely.
space. Rob Long, who's the CEO of Space Florida, made a comment during the ceremony. He said, we are all standing at the busiest spaceport in the world. And
That was phenomenal.
And he said,
How many did he say they probably
he
have
said
this year?
in 2025, they will have over 100 launches.
And we did,
Over 100 launches.
I'm pretty good at math, but I still got to let's see, 100 divided by 12 months.
Yeah, I mean,
9 a
you're-
month or,
Yeah.
that's,
So 2 to 3 launches a week,
that's unbelievable.
right? I mean, that's insane. And they have, just the infrastructure. I mean, we saw the buildings of Boeing is there, Lockheed is there, Blue Origin, Amazon.
One of the
SpaceX.
most amazing things that I took away from that, from listening to the contractors, is that half, they said, of their workforce, and actually Space Florida and Rob made a point. Rob being the executive
Rob
director
Long, the CEO of
of
Space Florida.
A lot of people think the industry is just all engineers and brainiacs and whatnot.
Yeah.
And actually, Lockheed, Boeing made a good point of, and why this partnership, why this MOU, that I think they said half, 50% of their
50%.
workforce, and they had a term for it. I think they called it like touch
Technicians?
jobs.
Touch
I think
jobs,
touch
yeah.
jobs, or basically construction trade jobs,
Yeah.
as opposed to engineers and whatnot.
Yeah,
So
guys were actually
half their
using their
workforce-
hands to build something.
Exactly. So, in any event, the MOU is just a culmination of a lot of great things that are happening at ABC. I think a lot of people by now, we may know whether or not the governor allowed or signed our apprenticeship funding law.
Transformative bill for us.
Transformative, like in our 50-year history of the Institute. It is going to change things. And
Absolutely.
it, by the way, has opened up conversations. We're talking about providing for the long-term growth of the ABC Institute, because where we're at right now is at almost capacity, I would say, if not capacity.
No, it's capacity, yeah.
Certainly in Miami-Dade, the 2 leased spaces we have. So we are looking at possibly purchasing. And again, obviously with the board's blessing, and the ABC Institute is going to have to do some significant tenant improvement, and they're on board with that.
Yeah.
But we're talking about a 24,000 square foot building.
Yep.
That will provide for the growth of the Institute and enrollment for the foreseeable future. So,
And it creates a shining star for workforce development and for workforce placement, that's happening in Miami-Dade. I mean, the idea of all those hundreds of people that you get to train every year, and then place them, and you upskill workers, and you bring new workers into the industry. It's a game changer for workforce development. Absolutely game changer. And so we're very, very excited about that as well as we pursue that. And in terms of what's happening with the growth of the Institute, we continue to grow. I mean, we are, with what's happening with Space Florida, with what's happening with the Space Coast of Florida, providing support for all of these crucial industries. The idea is to future-proof not just our organizations and our association, but the idea is to future-proof our workforce.
yeah.
And that's really, I think, what we are on the cusp of successfully executing.
So a little more association management or inside baseball stuff that's also very exciting to me is we just recently received our permits for our roofs. So this is important
Yeah.
because this is the organization investing in its assets.
Absolutely.
People that don't know, this chapter owns two different buildings on the same property.
Yeah.
Significant in size that we occupy, but then also lease out to tenants. And both buildings were in need of re-roofing, so that's going to be starting in the next couple weeks. So we can say, to our members and our board, thank goodness that they're taking their roles as a fiduciary and very seriously. That we're making sure that our investment, is going to have a new roof, but it'll be good for another, however it is,
20 years,
years or so.
20 years, and it's good for our tenants. Because we're not just an association, we're also landlords.
That's right.
Right? So you have to...
And even bigger news, why don't you talk a little bit about the plans we have for our actual ABC space and how important that is.
This is exciting.
It's very exciting. And it's unbelievable, our leadership. They see this, they understand this vision, they're very supportive.
Yeah.
We obviously have to do our due diligence and make sure all I's are dotted and T's are crossed, but...
We have actually started the process of renovating our offices, our main headquarters, so...
It's going to happen this year.
Architects been there already, and we're waiting for drawings, and it's going to happen this year. So between that and
you've put it well in the past, I'd like you to kind of communicate that now, the importance of having that space, not only your employees, but then also the guests. We have government employees and dignitaries all the time, but then also members.
Members all the time.
It's important to not have... an office that's is starting to look somewhat dated.
We're a successful organization, so everything we do, everything we share, everything we are a part of, needs to communicate that we're successful. And I think the office is a part of that. It's part of our brand. It's part of, obviously, our productivity of our team matters, but you also want those that are part of the organization to feel like I'm part of something special. And I think renovating our office, I kind of laughed at the new roof idea, but as landlords, it's our job to make sure we continue to engage in best business practices.
That's our biggest asset, so you don't want a roof.
Of course, absolutely, and you want to continue to maintain ABC's balance sheet, the chapter's balance sheet, the institute's balance sheet, and it's a phenomenal, and it's a huge investment. I mean, I think I paid half for my first home than the roof is costing us, right? Less than half. And so it's insane how much money it is, but it's a big building. It's two big structures. So.
So coming full circle. We talked a little bit about being that 75-year, or the chapter is going to be
68 this year?
68 this year.
In 2 years.
68 years, and the Institute 50 years, and how we're a 68-year overnight success.
So
the joke of that, or the point of that, is all these things that we're talking about and may be able to do. Is that because of one thing was a success and that made it possible, or was it?
No, that's the thing, right? I look at our revenue streams, and I don't want to get inside baseball, and certainly don't want to share anything with our competitors, but we have a multi-layer revenue stream for the association, and that is because of stable leadership. You are, in the 68-year history of this organization, you're the third CEO, right? Which tells you, now, that's not to say it's been all peaches and cream and there have been no issues. There have been tremendous challenges that you and leadership before you has overcome. But the idea, what I really want to make clear to our audience and to those listening, is that success is not serendipity. And I think a lot of people, especially, they will never think that about their own success, but they always think other people's success is serendipitous. And I don't know why that is, because I guess you're not living somebody else's life, so you just kind of assume they fell into it or something happened.
Or I think sometimes it's because we're in this point in time, and what's happening right now is a little more obvious or a little more in front of us.
Right.
But you don't necessarily, not everyone was there 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Or in 2008 when everybody was struggling. A lot of these people weren't in.
But the point is, there certainly were commemorative moments along the way that were big.
Right.
But it wasn't any one of them that makes this possible.
Right.
It was
But it's accumulation of good decisions, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know what coach, I think it was Lou Holtz, if I'm correct, but basically defined success as good decisions made every day, right? And that, what we often don't talk about is the cumulative effect of that, right? One of the reasons we get to be landlords is because people that came before us bought a building and paid the debt off. Right, so we have a headquarters that has no debt on it.
Yep.
Right, statistically, strategically phenomenal decision,
Yep.
right? But you have been a great
there's-
caretaker of that property, and that's related to the roof point, right?
And there's a number of them over the years.
Yeah, a huge number of decisions.
Owning a warranty corporation
Yeah.
was one of them, and one of the first. There was a period, and I think not everyone knows this history, but where my predecessor took over and didn't take pay, initially.
Yeah.
And they hired one employee, and they had a golf tournament, I think, his first month on the job just to make payroll.
Just to make payroll.
But there've been a lot of decisions since then, both by, staff.
And now we have over
President.
100 employees between full-time and part-time, and our instructors, over 100 people,
Right.
right? I mean, that's
But you got the warranty organization. You have at times in the past, our publishing, which has been very beneficial. Owning our own building provides for, lease income. Dues always is an important. Our membership is our base, and without them, we wouldn't do or do anything.
But dues, and most membership-driven organizations, dues is their number one revenue source. For us, it's not even the top three,
Right.
right? So there's
Our events, they're a
events.
significant source of income. Our investment income. Anyway, we're a model of diversification in terms of, and that's that. And the most recent one is probably our legislative strength allowed us to get this grant, which we started winning 7 years ago or so. So it's been 7 years of success there. That's probably been the most recent. And now with this LEA fix, it's a series of great accomplishments that have gotten us to this point.
I do want to say on the legislative point, right? We define success typically by what we get, right? In our legislative arena, we've had a lot of success by what we haven't gotten, right? And I'm talking about terrible public policy that's been
Stopping
stopped
bad things.
by the efforts of our associate. And there's members out there who get that benefit and don't even realize they've gotten that benefit.
Yeah. And can I also say, maybe we can talk a little bit about this. I know we're approaching the end of our
And it flies by every episode.
It does.
right?
It's amazing. So, but you talk about, people think it's serendipity or,
Yeah.
the same thing could be applied, in my opinion. And those that don't know, I started at the
started
chapter
in
in government affairs.
Yep.
The same thing applies to government affairs. There are a lot of people that think it's one thing, or they point to one thing or the other, that they think that's the secret sauce, or that's the reason for our success. No. The reason for our strength and our success is because of many different things we do.
Contributing factors.
This has been my point about building a diversified government affairs program, one that doesn't just play on a one-dimensional, level, but does as many of the things that a good, strong organization would do.
Absolutely.
We've done them all to some degree or another, and we continue to do them and are strengthening them, even down to, which some people didn't necessarily see the impact, but I think we've seen it a lot in the last year, which was these visits, bringing legislators and elected officials actually to our training center, so they could see we're not just an organization of
Members or
with a web page, the ABC Institute. We're actually a training center with classrooms and labs. Any of that, I think that's.
And inevitably, every single person who actually lays eyes on it is blown away by it.
Yeah.
Right.
And
to me, just one last point, like the idea, I think when you join a membership organization, it's really an idea, right? In your mind, I'm a part of something. But when you come and visit, you come to the office, you meet staff, you realize you're part of something significantly greater than a membership organization, right?
Something bigger than yourself.
Exactly.
And maybe we've come full circle. We can close out by saying, I think that's what we're most excited about, this vision of moving forward with purchasing our own space instead of leasing in an area in Miami where lease space is just getting more and more valuable and scarce. Having our own space and a space that has adequate room for future growth, we're starting to really dream about the impact of having people come to a showcase facility. So
I do want to wrap up one last thing. Success has many fathers, but failure is an option.
Who was the author?
Is a quote widely attributed to John F. Kennedy, though it originated earlier from an Italian diplomat, Count Celezio Ciano.
I was wrong altogether.
Yeah, but it was later popularized by JFK in the wake of the Bay of Pigs invasion.
Okay.
So almost almost, but yeah, it was JFK's. It was an Italian account, but JFK made it popular.
All right. In our case, success does have a lot of fathers.
Yeah, it does.
And we thank
long
you.
history.
We thank our members. We thank the membership. So in any event,
Thank you for joining us.
there's a lot happening.
There's a lot
and
happening.
we ask you to be part of it. So
Yep.
until next time.
Take care.